Boredom, a psychological state experienced when an individual is left without anything in particular to do, is not interested in their surroundings, or feels that a day or period is dull or tedious. It could be a miracle as well as a curse. You waited for the bus at the bus stop in front of your workplace. After a rough day of not having a breakthrough on your project, your mind needed a rest. The electric car motor you've been designing isn't as efficient as you wanted it to be. You tried not to think about it, so you just waited, doing nothing in particular, also feeling nothing in particular. You watched the time on your wristwatch as it went from 6 p.m. to 6:15, still thinking of nothing in particular. You felt the urge to pull out your phone and check some social media, seeing your friends' posts and stories, thinking why they didn't invite you to their parties and feeling sad. You scrolled through hundreds of posts before you noticed you were walking into the bus. You swiped your phone into your pocket and heard the symphony of car horns and city lights as you sat down into your seat. You watched the bus enter heavy traffic, and slowly it became more and more crowded. You were perceiving things, but not thinking things. Since your house is at the last stop of this bus line, you tried to sleep to pass the time. As you laid your hand on your lap, you felt your phone buzz. Suddenly, the urge of pulling it out of your pocket became hard to resist. You took it out and checked your mail, seeing the message from your boss, which read, "You're costing me time and money, both with a limited amount. We need your project up to speed or you'll be fired." The sudden rush of chemicals through the head mixed carefully, which gave you a frustrated emotion. As you pushed the phone harder than before into your pocket, you noticed an old woman with a walking stick standing beside your seat. She smiled weakly as her body language suggested she asked for your seat. You, feeling frustrated, stood up harshly and bumped toward your shoulder, causing her to stumble and fall. Her head hit the ground with a loud thump as blood seeped out of it. Suddenly, all pair of eyes were focused on you. You noticed the bus was at a stop, so you ran to the door and forced it open. You looked to the left, but not the right, as your mind failed to sense your surroundings when you rushed off the bus. The last thing you saw were two lights shining into your face and an immeasurable amount of pain before you were thrown to the air and your vision became black. You visibly shook and your eyes opened wide. You scanned your surroundings and looked at your wristwatch. It was 4:15 p.m. You noticed your posture, which suggested you dozed off while trying to solve the numerous equations around the electric motor problem. You sat down and worked through the rest of your time. Then you walked out of the building and sat down at the bus stop. You waited for the bus at the bus stop. After a rough day of not having a breakthrough on your project, your mind needed a rest. The electric car motor you've been designing isn't as efficient as you wanted it to be. You tried not to think about it, so you just waited, doing nothing in particular, but also feeling nothing in particular. You watched the time on your wristwatch as it went from 6 p.m. to 6:15, still thinking of nothing in particular. You felt the urge to pull out your phone and check some social media. This time, you resisted the urge, letting the boredom engulf you. Slowly but surely, your mind wandered through the ideas about the electric motor. Slowly but surely, ideas came flowing through your mind about the electric engine. Equations and more equations entered your head as you began to understand each flaw in your design. You began to switch out the parts in your mind and noting each change down in your small notebook. Before you knew it, you were on your bus, heading towards your seat. You swiped your notebook into a pocket as you sat onto the empty seat and heard the symphony of car horns and the flashing of city lights. You watched as the bus entered heavy traffic, and slowly it became more and more crowded. You are perceiving things, but not thinking things. Since your neighborhood is the last stop of this bus, you tried to pass the time. As your hand laid on your lap, you felt your phone buzz. You took it out and checked your mail, seeing the message from your boss. Knowing what it said, you quickly typed the reply and took a picture of one of your page of your notes that you've jotted down. A quick reply came through. Great, this is what I've been looking for. You'll get a promotion tomorrow. The sudden rush of chemicals through the head mixed carefully, which gave you a feeling of happiness and joy. As you pushed the phone carefully into your pocket, you noticed an old woman with a walking stick standing beside your seat. She smiled weakly as her body language suggested she asked for your seat. You smiled back at her and stood up, letting her take the seat. You also carefully helped her into the seat you were on. She thanked you, and you stood there, peacefully, holding onto the straps from the top of the bus, thinking of nothing, but feeling joyous. Person by person slowly exited as it grew closer to the last stop. As the bus driver announced that you were at the last stop, you walked down the bus and into your house.